Welcome everyone to another episode of the Lance Scurv Show. How are you doing this rising? You know, there's so much going on in the world, and it's not even humanly possible to be able to speak about everything that's out here happening. It's just impossible. So when I wake up, first thing, after a little time to myself meditating, I look over what's happening in the world. And again, there's a lot of smoke screens put out there. There are a lot of things that are put out there to distract us, and we're living in a very distracting time with so many deadly things out there. I'm not into the fear mongering. I'm not into trying to be sensationalistic, if that's a word. Please look it up for me. I'm still going to use it. It sounds good. But there are things that we need to be aware of. And even in being made aware of these things, it shows me how far off the mark we've fallen. Now, when you look at this particular banner that I made, before anybody gets on me, why did I put the young lady in the bikini? That's just an image that I had from another show, and I decided to put it there. And I could have put the man in the bathing suit, but I had one available where he's in a suit, but there's no significance as to their degree of dress or undress. But I did put a very frightening looking eye and skull behind it. And there was some HIV papers in between. And I wanted to contrast. I wanted to shock people on this level where a man may look at that woman and say, wow, she looks really nice. She's sexy. And maybe a woman might look at the man and say, wow, he's a really well-dressed, handsome young man. That attractiveness, but then again, the reality of what's behind it. You see, they say that there's a new HIV variant discovered, possibly more infectious and severe than ever before. They say this, and it could be true. I'm not doubting it. But all I'm saying is, why is this news? It is news, but HIV has been around from my memory, the early 80s. But if you speak to those in the gay community, they'll say as far back as 79, when men started dropping like flies. And I think they called it Kaposi's sarcoma. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a newscaster, but I do have a good memory. And then after a while, they realized what it was. And it's always been my feeling that how is it all of a sudden these things just pop up out of nowhere? Why is it that this out of nowhere? There have always been homosexual men down through the ages. This is nothing new. And I remember at that time they said it was monkeys in Africa and men having sex with monkeys, and this is how it came to be. You know, anytime there's any kind of pandemic or some type of worldwide medical concern where there's death and destruction and it's just taking the people over, you got to always blame Africa. Isn't that something? Africa always gets the blame. And it makes you wonder, when we had this last thing that's going on right now, it began in China, so they say. But I told you that it was going to come back around to Africa. Now, I'm going to drop the links for this story. It goes in depth. The point that I have to make is not necessarily me reading all of the scientific information. That's there for you to do so. But I want to make a point to the Black community, and this is the reason why I wanted to do this story upon awakening. But the title of this, or actually, is from healthline.com. And the title is New Variant Discovered May Be More Infectious and Severe. Bulleted points. A new strain of HIV has been discovered in the Netherlands. Next one, the strain dubbed the VB variant appears to lead to more severe disease more quickly. The next one, people with this strain also tended to have a higher viral load. We'll read a little bit of this. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown that mutations in a virus can significantly change a pathogen's infectiousness and severity of disease. Now, new research from the University of Oxford finds a new variant of HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, that is potentially more infectious and could more seriously affect the immune system. So far, 109 people, most of whom live in the Netherlands, have the variant. New HIV variant causes illness twice as fast. Subtitle. The new strain, called the VB variant, damages the immune system, weakening people's ability to fight everyday infections and diseases much faster than the previous HIV strains, scientists say. It also means that people who contract the new variant may develop AIDS faster. Researchers also found that VB has a viral load, the amount of virus detected in blood, 3.5 to 5.5 times higher than the current strain, indicating that it could also be more infectious. Now, to get into more technical terms and how we have to deal with it and what the effects and possibilities can be, I'll leave that to you to read, because it's a lengthy article, and I'll just leave several articles which I like to do, because if one article doesn't cover a certain point, the other one might overlap it, and you'll get a general, idea what it's all about. But all I'm saying is this, and I've been saying this for the longest time. In the Black communities worldwide, but more so in those Black communities where we are or have a closer proximity to the oppressor, those places, America, UK, and other highly populated and mixed countries where they call us the minority, but we still have a big effect on what goes on in society. Why is it that, well, let me just ask the question, have Black people forgot that AIDS exists? Let's just pull the sheets off of it and just get right into it. Have we forgotten that AIDS exists? Have we forgotten how many of our family members have died from this or have this? I remember, and I got to get nostalgic with you. I mean, you would stand on the subway in New York City, and this thing was so bad when somebody sneezed or you bumped into somebody, you didn't want to even touch them. Now, we know that you can't catch it by touching someone. And I'm not trying to test breathing in the particles of somebody else's sneeze down my throat and nose. But we know that we know what it is now. And I don't feel bad for putting that half-naked woman in a bikini on the banner. Because if you can look at a banner in a show on YouTube and look at this woman in lust, when you see the image that I'm putting or the story, what it's all about, something's wrong with you. I mean, it's a controlled demolition on our community, no doubt. And people long ago, even long before YouTube, long before the 90s came in, even when I was out there acting crazy myself, I did have this cross my mind. I knew it. Let me tell you, I'm a little long in the tooth at this point, and I'm not as young as I look. But I remember there were several sushi restaurants that I used to love to go to down in Greenwich Village in New York City growing up. And I used to just love to be down there. Washington Square Park, over by the dock by Christopher Street, which is really a heavily gay populated place, but a lot of young ladies love it over there. And I met lots of young ladies over there, just New York in general. The way New Yorkers were back then, you do your thing, I do mine. That's the way it was. But the beautiful cobblestone streets, the boutiques, the restaurants, the curio shops, all those things that were so interesting. And while I am into my African culture, the real African culture, those narrow, winding streets had an old school European feel to it. I am not exalting Europe over anything black. I'm just saying I like the style. There was always something to look at. There was always someone to talk to. It wasn't a general New York City mindset. But in going down through those areas, I remember before even the mainstream newspapers came out with it, I said, man, there's a lot of these gay dudes walking around looking like skulls in their face, sunken in, frightening. I didn't even know them from before. But they had that sunken in look where the eyes were sunken in, the cheekbones were poking out, and their faces looked like skulls. And I said to myself and to several other friends, I said, what's going on? And then with the Village Voice, I couldn't tell you the exact year or article, but the Village Voice in New York City is a very popular alternative newspaper. And I'd read through it and hear about this thing. But before it came out mainstream, it was big in the gay community and they were speaking about it. And again, I read everything. If I had the Czechoslovakian newspaper and it was written in English and I have nothing to do, well, that makes excellent toilet reading, when you sit down. But being vegan-like, which I'm not totally vegan anymore, you don't hang around that place too long because your bowels move fast, too much information. But I heard it and knew it, and remember, I was in the bodybuilding gyms training. Different gyms all over the city, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, but more so Manhattan and Lower Manhattan. And there was one gym, I'm going to name drop it, it's not there anymore. It was called Natural Physique Center on 4th Avenue and 11th Street. And if you're a real New Yorker, you know that there is a 4th Avenue, but it ended at 14th Street. So if you just went uptown or you came from different boroughs and went uptown, ain't no 4th Avenue, he lying. No, there's a 4th Avenue. Go check your map. Google map it. Inform yourself. But it was a beautiful place to walk around at night. You meet women down there back in those days that were friendly. You weren't meeting them for sex. They're there. They're at the flavored popcorn shop there on 8th Street that used to be there. 8th Street had so many shoe shops that were open late that had all types of imported and exotic and handmade shoes. We'd walk up and down and see the different types of cuisine, different restaurants, and even the shop owners that you may have purchased things from before, weeks, months before. They remembered you. They waved at you. They stopped and talked to you. They say, hey, just take a look at what I have. You don't have to buy anything now. It was utopia. It was the closest thing to the Kumbaya moment. Not that I was ever looking for it. But then there was a dark shadow coming over the city at that time. We already had issues. We had the poverty issues. We had the drug issues. We did have crime issues. It's always up and down in certain parts, but New York City is known for its crime. So much crime that I had to name it twice. New York, New York. But now there was something more deadly coming over the horizon. And I'm saying all that to say this. Yes, we just spoke about this new variant of HIV coming out, but I'm talking to black people right now, and I'm coming on up with it. Because I have a question for you at the end of this. I'm kind of freestyle ranting. So now we're enjoying the sushi restaurants. We're enjoying the hot summer nights and being out there till 3, 4, and 5, and sometimes daybreak. And you eat breakfast and then you come on home tired and sleep. And if you have nothing to do, you get up and repeat the process because you had so much fun. The books that they would have laid out on the concrete that were used, but they were hard to get, books that you'd see. And you say, how much is that book? Oh, it's 25 cents. Wow. The vendors that were out there, the people performing with their music and singing. Some sisters that I heard out there had such wonderful voices. Oh man, you just knew they were a shoo-in to be a big star. And now you wonder where they are. Comedians. There was one in particular. He was always down there. And I'm telling you right now, he was funnier than Dave Chappelle, Eddie Murphy, Red Fox, Richard Pryor, and on a spontaneous level. This dude was bad. I wish we had cell phones back then to record and see and put his stuff up. And he was a little older than me, a lot older than me. He may or may not be here with us, but I never forgot him. And wherever you are, I'm sending good energy to you. But there was a storm looming over the world, and not just New York City, but that was my take on it. The bittersweetness that I had as a young man, totally independent, was about to be not robbed, but changed in how we moved. We were so afraid of herpes that came out. Herpes was the warm-up for AIDS. Herpes wasn't around but a short time, and here comes AIDS. Herpes was like that left jab that's thrown soft in the eyes of the opponent to blind him, and then followed through by the hard right cross that knocks him out. So we were afraid of herpes. Like, whoa, you mean you can get this thing and never be able to get rid of it? That was a nightmare in itself. We had more respect for herpes when it came out than we did for HIV, not only at first, but a few years or several years after it came out, because we continued with our wanton ways. We continued with just not being careful. And I'm not going to say I was a saint, because my way of thinking back then, which was out of ignorance, was that that's just a white gay male disease. Come here, girl. We're going to have some fun tonight. You understand where I'm coming from? So that's what it was for me. But it doesn't mean that it wasn't something that we all needed to be very careful of. And I'm sorry if I'm not acknowledging the chat room. I don't even have the chat room up. I just want to vibe from the inside, because sometimes I love my family, but when there's a message to be given, you know, I gotta get it out. You know how that is. Call to nature. Love you. I gotta go over there by that tree. But that being said, it was a time of terror, because, you know, when you go out in the street, if you feel a little insecure, you can arm yourself with a knife. You can arm yourself with a gun. You can travel in packs to ensure that you're safe, because nobody's going to roll up on a pack unless you had a machine gun. And for what? Chances are. But this hit us in a very intimate way. Every time now you saw a beautiful woman, this is me as a man, you got to think, am I risking my life? You got to think, herpes is still out there, but this thing called AIDS, And even in the various cultures and nations all over the world, you had concerts, you had mass memorials where people would speak about this. You had celebrities coming out and speaking about this. This was something that you could not avoid. I don't care how far under the rock you lived, you knew about it too. But Black people, what happened? Have we forgotten that this is out here? Have we forgotten that not even the new variant that makes you sicker faster? And we know this is something cooked up in the lab. This is my opinion. But regardless as to the origin of it, guess who's going to be the target of it with our partying self? Guess who's going to be the target of it with our non-informed self? Guess who's going to be the target of it as we party away? Look at our media. Look at what's put out there for us, like a worm on a hook for a curious, hungry fish. Look what's put out there for us. We've turned the videos on. I see shapes on some of these women that I always used to say, certain women I see, but girl, you a throwback to the 70s, because they back then, them girls back then, women back then. But now with all of this surgery and enhancement and hormones and, you know, not all that disproportionate stuff where somebody's backside is sticking 3 feet out. That's ugly, because you got to have leg with it. But on an engineered level, they cater to us in our basic wants and needs, meaning the need to procreate, which they've overlapped that with not even just that, like a man who says, yes, I want to marry a wife. I want to have a wife. I want to take care of her. I want to secure her. and I want to have children. Well, between you saying that you want to secure her and have children, of course, you know what you have to do to have children, but that wasn't the first and foremost thing on our minds. So we've been set up over the decades because marriage was a predominant thing in our community. Now it's not. Now you have children that are growing up that don't even know their daddies. I remember driving the bus several times and little girls and little boys, but more so the little girls that see my masculine energy. I'm driving the bus, my eyes are not bloodshot. I'm upright, I'm speaking proper, I'm clean cut, and they're looking at me in amazement because the examples of manhood in their world don't match up to that. Not that I'm saying I'm all that, but I made sure that every step I take, every time I'm seen, I represent us because I know others are looking and they're looking for us to be on a low vibration. So I had to be an oddball in my own neighborhoods. I didn't say community, I said neighborhoods. But that's the goal that you should reach for, to inspire those to be better, to be cordial, to be nice, professional. And some of those little girls would say and tap to their mama, "Mommy, mommy, is that my daddy?" Because they found something that was desirable, like, wow, there's a man who's strong, he's articulate. I'm not saying it like white folks and say, "Oh, you're articulate." No, I'm not saying it like that. I'm just saying, does it have to be where we're grabbing our nuts all, you know what I'm saying, man? Boy, look at that girl booty, right? And that's the damn reason why you laying up in the hospital or dead already. Because we've been so degraded, and it's easy for them to put these things out because they know that we're hedonistic, lust-driven, and all we could do is think of escaping the pain of commitment and responsibility and forsake that just for a cheap lay. But you forgot that you have genes inside of you. You have DNA inside of you. You have sperm, my brother. That's not just meant to be shot out all over the world just because you want to get off. You have a responsibility to your ancestors, to those who came before you, to represent them in the present time in this relay race of life. But you chumped out and don't understand the responsibility. Yeah, you can have all the pleasure in the world when you do what you do the proper way. You want to have 25 kids, you can take care of them, go ahead, spray away. Secure that woman. Get back to marriage, get back to these institutions. We've been pulled out from them. And now we're just mindless maggots humping all over each other, spraying off and having children all over the place we don't take care of, exposing ourselves to diseases, twisted from all the things you see in porn. And now it don't matter who sucks you off. It don't matter if it's a woman or a man. And for some of you who need to be snuffed, even a child. We've been so degraded morally that it's easy for them to put these things out and kill us off. And we're still partying and don't pay it no mind. And they say new HIV variant discovered. So I ask you, Black people, have you forgotten that AIDS was out there? We all know somebody who died of AIDS. Even if the family wants to say it's pneumonia, even if the family wants to say it's cancer, hell, I don't know for sure, but I know Eddie Long was known for dipping and dabbing. I wasn't there. I can't tell you that I knew. But all of a sudden, it was cancer. Okay. I'm not slandering anybody. I have the right to express my opinion. Long before I knew who that man was, back in 2006, people from the gay community were shooting messages to me. You need to cover this, man. He was seen in the club with the dark glasses on in Atlanta or some area, wearing some wig, picking up boys, picking up young men. That was showed to me. I don't know. I'm just telling it like it is. But we're walking around on a tightrope. Remember the World Trade Center? And I forgot who it was that did the tightrope across the World Trade Center when it existed as it did. That building that was 110 stories high, that as a young boy, I remember seeing it go up. It was started out in the late 60s and early 70s is what I remember in the skyline. And they used to go and walk on a rope from one tower to the other. And don't you think even on the most calmest days, 110 stories up, could you imagine what that wind is like? And I don't recall them having a safety net below. And if there was a safety net, how good could it be or how strong could it be? It would have to be probably like 25 stories up to catch somebody falling down, or maybe a series of them. I don't remember any tightrope. They walked from one side of the World Trade Center to the other tower on a tightrope 110 stories high and went to the other side. That's what we're doing, except we're doing it in a hurricane. We're sticking our thing everywhere we can do it. And our mind is filled up with these images, and we're caught up in the lust because, you see, pain brings the need for pleasure. It's natural. And I'm not going to knock anybody. Who wants to be in pain? But for so many of us, discipline is pain. Commitment is pain. It's uncomfortable, but it's the righteous pain. I'm not saying go out there and take an axe and cut yourself in the ankle. Yeah, I'm in pain. I'm going to make it. I'm going to get better. No, you stupid. You a fool. I'm talking about the pain of getting up and going out into the world and making your way when you want to stay in the bed. I'm talking about the pain of living in this society where we are judged by the color of our skin because they know how mighty we are and they don't want us to wake up. They're constantly a target. No, I'm not complaining. Every time they come near me with anything, I'm going to show them that I'm the closest thing to Superman that they ever done seen, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically with my old behind. April 8th, y'all, we're going to have the big birthday bash. I'll be 59 years old. But that's a blink of an eye. When you look at that mountain and realize it's been there for millions of years. When you look at the big tree in your neighborhood and it's big and thick, how old you think that is? Might be 500, 600 years old. And you talk about the ripe old age of 95, he passed away. That ain't nothing. And even if you do pass away earlier or later, you're still part of the system in ways that we don't know yet from this level. But while we're on this level, there are things we have to do. We did not come here and win the race. What are you talking about? You're the sperm that won out. You beat billions of sperm and hit the egg. All of us are winners. Why did you come here to be a loser and give up so fast? I don't understand it. We've come so far. But when you look at it again, we're like sperm again. We have a head. We have a body. We're moving towards something. But the difference is between the sperm that we were before we hit the egg and who we are now with a brain that can think is that we had more purpose as a sperm than we do now as a fully grown individual, male and female. You were swimming for your life. You knew if you didn't make it, you weren't going to get to the next level. I don't know, in your little sperm brain, somehow there was a sense of urgency to swim forward. Now we're swimming hard on this level, and we have no sense of urgency. We have no plan, no direction. That in itself will kill us off. That in itself will render us useless on this level. But then now, while we're out here mindlessly partying, living hedonistic and pleasure-seeking lives, there are things put out here even more deadly to take us off. The difference now between us and sperm is that what we should be doing, we're not doing. We did a better job as sperm than we're doing as a person now on this level. And it's amazing to me because, see, we're not racing against each other now, looking toward one egg. It's easier now than when we were a sperm because all we have to do is manifest the seeds of greatness that are inside of us and put in all of us in different ways. Stop being jealous of your brother because he has a talent that you don't have. Maybe you have a talent that he doesn't have. And if you both have different talents, why don't you combine it together to build something bigger than the sum total of the both of you, synergistically, meaning that if it's two people that got together in unison to accomplish something, You'd have the effect of 12 people, 20 people. If it's 5, you might have the effect of 95 people. Don't quote me on those numbers now. I'm just saying that as we come together for a purpose, we're stronger together than we are apart. And you tell me, with all of the people that you see on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, talking about we need to wake up, we need to come together. Imagine you're in the bed, and for those who drink, you have a hangover. You're up drinking Sunday night, sneaking it. Your wife is already sleeping. She's up. She's ready to go to work, or she's up if she's home, or a home engineer. She's ready to get busy and do what she has to do. But the alarm clock went off. And you would hit the snooze button, and she saw that, but she let you get a little few more minutes in. It rings off again, and you keep hitting the snooze button, and she knows how long it takes for you to get to work. After a while, forget the snooze button. Listen, buddy, you need to get up because you're going to be late to work. You already have been written up a couple of times for being late. And it seems like you don't take this serious, that you need this job and you need this money to keep this household going because of your pleasure-seeking, hedonistic practices of drinking, where if you faced the music and what you had to do as a man, you wouldn't have to drink because you'd feel so proud. You wouldn't want to be out of your mind. You want to enjoy the happiness of being a man and the accomplishment with that comes with that. So now you find all the excuses to take your time, sitting down on the side of the bed, rubbing your eye, picking your toes. You in the bathroom now, long taking a shower. You know how it is. You're taking a shower and it, for some reason, it feels so good, but you don't want to admit the inevitable, the obvious, that you don't want to go to work that day. So by the time you get out of the house, an hour and a half late, it makes no sense. You get to the job and you already know what it is. Mr. So-and-so, we'd like to speak with you. You done lost your job. What happened to us? But if I told you there was a cookout somewhere where you know the guy that's throwing it, and he's got all these pretty young things over there, and all the liquor, and all the chicken, and music from back in the day, you'd be the first one there. You'd be parked out in front of the house as they're bringing the food in because you want to make sure you're going to get that plate. You want to make sure you see all them pretty girls going in there. Why are we the way we are? This makes it easier for us to be taken off because our priorities are not straight. There's nothing new under the sun. We had husbands who were cheating. We had wives who were cheating. We had people who were stealing things. We had people in the church who were doing all kinds of devilment. You know that word devilment? I think it came from the South. It's so funny. Devilment. I like that word. But it's still alive and well because of what we do. But no matter what you call it, we always had these things, but it went to a certain point. It was a very small part of our life. Because after we got out of slavery, when we came out of that thing, we didn't want to go back into something else that would tear us down because we knew what it was like to be lynched and killed on the spot. We wanted better for ourselves, although we always had coons who loved the master. We know that. So we were married more. We had the Black Wall Streets all over America, but they won't tell you that in their history books. They don't want anything to inspire us to go to a higher vibration. So now they give us this thing called social media. And they know that with all the police killings and all of the negative things put out on us over the media, our esteem is going lower and lower and lower. We send our children to the schools of the oppressors. And do you think they tell us anything good? So-called Black History Month, the shortest month of the year. They give us a rotation of the same old corny. And I'm not saying the people who they said that did things in history aren't important, but they hide so much of our true history and give us a few sprinklings of things that they allow and approve of now in the present. But they don't want to tell the full history on who they are and who they were. Uncivilized, living in caves, didn't even have proper plumbing, didn't have civilization. When they came and they saw us, They couldn't believe it. And see, our problem is that we are so kind. We are so loving. Come on in, you little caveman. Let me show you civilization. And that was our end. We are too nice with the oppressor, but we hate ourselves. And that's by design. And that happened very quickly. Now, we always had some of us killing, some of us because you kill where you live. So shut up when you come to me talking about black on black crime. Well, if you live in a black neighborhood, what you gonna shoot at? When the statistics show that there's more white on white crime, but you never hear that term. Huh? What's up with that? We're the minority and we're doing most of the killings of ourselves. If there was that bad, we would have been snuffed each other out right now. So don't believe that person who is the master of deception and influences your mind to believe that fairy tales are real. Let's not even get on religion. I'm gonna skip past that because some of you all are on your way to the church house. And that's a huge part of it. We're so-called minorities. And I've heard people over here, because I'm in Accra, Ghana, in the motherland, black men and black women who never left. And I don't see a need to even leave over here for what? Why do I want to leave my safe home, my beautiful home where all the nice food is and comforts and amenities to go sit up in a hospital emergency waiting room where everybody's coughing and hacking and sneezing? Do I want to go somewhere else and get sick? So I feel so good when I left that germ-tainted, toxic, sick hospital emergency room called America. I can breathe free now. And where no place in the world is perfect, Lord have mercy, it's going to be kind of hard to find a reason for me to go back to that place. But we're so off. We don't understand priorities. Isn't it something now? As much as I speak about the white Jesus and how religion has ruined us and all of these different things, you know, we're spiritual people, but we threw that down. We don't want to hear that no more. We got animals that are out there in the so-called wild that are more spiritual than we are with our religious backsides. They submit to the laws. You see the cats and the alligators and the deer chilling out in the sun. But we're somewhere in a dark place as much as we can, worshiping the sun, the S-O-N, while we should be out getting some sun that would recalibrate our senses to treat each other better. We're in an engineered system, and that's a whole other topic that I usually talk about. We're out of our damn mind. We're out of our senses. Something's wrong with us. Of course, look at the practices of what we're doing. But even though it's been strained and pushed through Christianity, and that's something that we're not going to argue about that right now, but I will say in its favor, if we got with that one woman and waited for marriage, would we have to worry about HIV? If our young sisters kept themselves and waited for that one man for marriage, would we be worried about HIV? We get tested, we don't have it, we can get as busy and freaky as we want to. And I condone that. There's nothing wrong with you for having desires for that opposite sex. You have to hold it in a perfect world. Did I do it? Did you do it? Chances are we didn't. But if we didn't and we rolled the dice and something happened wrong, then we got to bear and face the consequences. And so now I'm sounding like the older generation when I was coming up. I thought I knew it all. I wanted to have fun. They had fun. I want to have fun. But see, fun now is potentially death. And so I think about all of our youngsters and our young men and young women who are coming up, whose face is glued to Instagram. Damn, man, send me that link, man. Man, that girl had a nice ass, man. Know what I'm saying? Check this, man. I hit that, man. Like the guy I saw in the club, saw the girl with the nice juicy backside. Talking about, oh, look at that butt. I want to marry her. You want to marry somebody just off of a butt? You don't know what's in their head? You don't know what kind of heaven or hell they can bring to you in your life? You're going to throw away the next 20, 30 years of your life just off of that? And I mean, you have kids together, you're together, she usually bringing you in the court, saying you hit her. I'm not demonizing black women. No, I'm just saying in those situations where men don't think, because there are those type of low vibrational sisters out there, just the same way as there are the low vibrational men out there. And the hell with you who talk righteous, but you out there too. And now we got the new HIV variant out there floating around. And guess what? I'm going to say it right now. It's coming to a black neighborhood near you. And they put it out there. They've been had this thing. I feel in my heart. Oh, ha, 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 ha. We had the C-19 come out. And you black people are still here. It's getting us more than anything else. It was meant for you. I said it first. I got video proof when that thing first came out. I said, listen, this thing is coming to Africa. They're going to blame Africa. They're going to try to make it where it's a black people thing. Just like back in the day when HIV/AIDS was a white gay male disease. We know disease is disease and it started out there. But at a certain point shortly thereafter, remember, black women between the age of whatever and 44. I remember 44. I forgot what the other one, it could have been 20 something, 30 something, but 44. It became a black woman's disease. And those of us who may have been tampered with at a young age and may be struggling, and I'm saying this out of love. I'm not saying everybody who does things with the same sex has been molested. But there are so many of us who are straight who have been molested, who are gay who have been molested. But I do feel, and this is my opinion, and I'm not saying this to challenge or throw off on anybody, I do feel that possibly many who are part of the rainbow have been touched maybe a little more. And maybe they don't want to admit it or whatever. We'll never know. We'll never know. When you take a survey, you don't know what you're getting back. You understand? Because we have opinions of what our life should be and what we want to put out there and what we don't want to admit. So now we have men, targeted black men, locked up in prison. And they have things in their head, or they may have done things before from an uncle or somebody who touched them. And they primarily want to put their hands on a beautiful woman. I don't mean put their hands like they're going to snatch you. I'm just saying, like, that's what they just, oh man. And you look at the different cell walls and the pictures of the nude women up there in the facilities that do allow those kind of pictures. I've seen it. And they worship these women. They're not with them anymore. But they can't get the stimulation. And the fact of the matter is, those of us who know, because I've been there as far as working in facilities like that as a corrections officer, lots of times, you see two brothers locked up in a cell, in a two-man cell, two bunks, and one bunk is empty. And you have the covers from the top bunk covered over so that you can't see the activity of what's going on in that bottom bunk. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen very masculine black men who hunger for the touch of the women, reading a magazine, but below that, they're laying back with a magazine in their chest, looking at the women, but the other man is servicing him, and they're taking turns doing this. And guess what? You don't need clearance as HIV to get into the prison, to get into the jail. It slips right on through. They may identify you as having it, but there's no barrier from you getting with the next person. So now it's a multifaceted attack. And I've seen guys dying. There's one man I saw, they couldn't do anything for him. They tried all they could in the nurses' unit, but he was locked up and left to die. And one thing I'll never forget about that was that he was in transition between being moved between one nurse's unit and some other place, but it was really a done deal. And where they had him for a couple of days, in my unit, he couldn't even use the bathroom because it was a 24-hour thing, meaning that there's a toilet right there. He couldn't even make it to the toilet. And this was an 8 by 10 or 8 by, I don't know, maybe 8 feet, maybe 6 feet. I'm not sure, but it was a very small cell. So they gave him hefty bags, garbage bags, y'all, until they can get him out of there. And we ripped open the garbage bags, not ripped it into little pieces, but we ripped it where we can open it up and spread it out and put it on the floor so he can just lay there in his feces. Do you really know what that thing does to you? And now we have a new HIV variant that's been discovered. And guess where it's going to be targeted to go? You can't tell me that people who already have HIV will not be paid. This is my imagination. I'm talking amongst family and I'm thinking out loud. This is a war, y'all. You think war is just bombs dropped from planes, troops on the ground shooting machine guns at you, Marines and Navy and submarines? You think that's the only way war is? Listen, fellas, war can be that sexy woman who already has HIV, but she's paid by the government. And she knows she has family and she's paid very well to sleep with as many men as she possibly can. Brothers, those of you who are gay, you might see somebody who you think in your own mind, I don't know what it's like to be gay and what y'all think, but y'all get with each other and you might find something very appealing to you. Come on in and do things and inoculate you with this thing. And he's going on with somebody else. And now we go on with our lives not thinking, and we still have our desires. We're stressed. We want to do things. We want to get off. And so now we become carriers and spread it. And like they say, the devil comes in the straight path. Look, we like to eat, don't we? We have our favorite meals. So now they put a little extra sugar and salt and turn it around, and now we're walking around obese. It's natural to want to consume nutrition, but we keep going, eat more. So the natural thing has been turned into a weapon against us. So now the natural thing of sex, guess what? It has been hyped up. It has been driven into our minds. We're thinking about this thing all day long. HIV is out here, but our drive for pleasure to get away from the pain of oppression overrules that. Now the media pulls back their coverage of it the way it used to be. I swear I was watching some cartoons one day and something came by and told me HIV. No, I'm just joking. But you couldn't get away from it. People magazine, the New York Post, the New York Times, CNN, HIV. It's like, yo, I'm tired of hearing about this. I'm just going to keep my stuff behind my zipper. I ain't doing nothing no more. And even then, I didn't even do that. And I wasn't even as bad as some of the people I knew. It was scary to me. I'll be honest with you. The Friday night, I think it was in November of 91, November of 1991, it was a Friday night. And I had planned a little get together with a couple of young ladies, and we weren't talking about crocheting or the stock market or nuclear arms in Iran. It was a whole weekend that I had planned that we were down with this thing. And as soon as we were laying around and talking and laughing and things started coming off, and newsflash, Magic Johnson has HIV. I was like, oh man, what is this? What is this? Some kind of omen to me? I sat back for a while and had things happening in my midst. I'll just say it that way because this is Sunday morning, y'all. But the pleasure of it all was reduced because I'm thinking in my head, what could happen to me if that was me? I don't even have his money. And I already know people who died from that. Close people, lots of people in my actual block, in my actual inner circle. Here that day, gone the next. Tubes in them, in the hospital. Some we didn't know. Most of them at that time were gay, but we knew this thing was all over the place. And we still had our desires. Now here we are in 2022. Smack yourself in the face and say, listen, fill your name in. This is 2022. Now, I know HIV was around and out from 1979 until they put the name on it in the early 80s. But let's just say it was 1982 because it was already around in 1982, 1992, 2002, 2012, 2022. Shoot. In this society, by the time you get 40 years old, the young kids are calling you an old ass man or woman. So AIDS is something that we've been tap dancing with and waltzing with and, skirting around and dealing with for 40 years. Somebody's pissed because we still here. Even with this C19, we still gonna be here. See, it's all not negative. We still gonna be here. But I'm kind of getting, I've always been concerned, but I'm kind of getting worried right now. Things ain't looking good. All these years that we've been dealing with this oppressor and the conditions of the world, and we know our brilliance because we're in every area of expertise in that other world, benefiting them. So we should know we're great. We should know that we can come out of her, my people, and do for ourselves. But we don't get it. We still don't get it. Like that man who didn't want to wake up because he had to go to work and he lost his job. Well, what about us? Are we going to lose our footing? Are black people going to be extinct in the world one day? We know that Caucasians are 9% of the world population. They're not going to tell you that. And we overpower them numbers-wise. So they got to bring our numbers down. They're on their way out. The sun don't like them. The sun is the source of all life. Don't say that, like, Scurv. Jesus Christ is the source of all. Listen, you take away the sun and you take away the religious part of Jesus, and you tell me which you can live without longer. I hate to say it that way, but we're so damn stupid. We're so twisted around. And we're killing ourselves off. You talk about be worried about a gun? The penis is just as deadly as a gun these days, because what it shoots out of it could be deadly in what's in it, in the juices of our sisters. And we just killing each other in the name of pleasure and don't even know it. We're like that roach walking from being sprayed or picking up that substance on our body and going back to the nest and killing everybody else. We're no different than roaches, and it's the same concept. It's the same concept. And we don't understand. And we keep on going and going and going. And we don't figure out that this is war on us. It's war. Dressed up. It's war. Feeling good. Thinking we done got over. Hello? Hey, man. Remember that girl I met at the club last night? Wifey been sick, so she been taking that medication. She ain't know I went to the club, and she ain't know I was up out late. But man, that girl put it on me. Right there in the car, man. She put it on me, man. Woo! I needed that, man. I got over. Yeah, you did. Until a couple of weeks or a couple of months go by, and you realize there's something wrong. Did you really get over? Did you really get over? I don't know. But 2022 is not a time that we should be screaming out to each other to wake up. We should have been there already. And because of that, a lot of us are not going to make it. And all I can suggest to you, for those of us who have sense, is to shine out your wisdom and to shine out your orderly life. Maybe somebody who is not living proper can see that, but we can't save everybody. We can't be that one that goes out into the masses and saves the black people. There's so many of us who have a savior's complex. It doesn't work that way. And those who have those savior's complexes, they ain't doing it for you. They just want to hear them damn selves talk. They just want to see their name and their face up on the billboard. What an ego stroke to these pastors, especially out here. And they don't give a damn about you. You are the president of your own life, and you have to make the decisions that will keep you going on. And we got to get through this life because there's so many minefields out in the fields of life that we're walking through blindly and don't even know where they are. But if we were spiritually connected and attuned in the way that we should be, we would see them so clear and we would make it effortlessly. And we'd have a wonderful life. And that's what I'm here to tell you. It's not about doomsaying, but we can still live a wonderful life. But you better know how to carry yourself. You better be aware of what's out there that's amplified even more. Look for this thing, if it really is that, over the next year. And look at the fact that Instagram is going to get more powerful with the imagery of sexy people to turn us on, to have us walking around perpetually horny, doing things here and there with anybody because we got the hots. And we don't have the sense to control the hots. We all get horny. I know I do with my old behind, but I got the sense to know that there's consequences, and that this being a war on us. What do you think, Lance? It's a war on everybody else too. I'll shut up. I'm not concerned for you, because when stuff is happening with us, y'all don't pay us no mind, because it benefits you for us to be off this earth. So even the good ones that you say are good, they're not out there. And when you see them protesting and the Black Lives Matter and all that foolishness and whatnot, they ain't there for you. They're engineering our history now. They saw how powerful the imagery was from back in the civil rights movement, which should really have been human rights. And every so many years or decades, we got to go back and get the right to vote. They saw those powerful images. And you know what? We saw them too, because we were there, or our forefathers were there. But guess what? They got a thing called Getty Images that has purchased up pictures of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, us being bit by dogs, all these different things. And we can't use those pictures for anything unless we legally get their permission. Why do they want pictures of that? And now in the present, you see all of this Black Lives Matter, which is not for Black people. It's a gay thing. It's a lesbian thing. But legally, they can do more if they put the Black thing over it. Who don't know that? But now it's engineered because they want to affect those who are coming down the pike 20, 30, 40 years from now to say, yes, we all were together and stood together. Sometimes you see these pictures and images of Black Lives Matter with more white folks than anything else. It's engineered now. They're fooling you now and fooling our children in the future. Everything is engineered, even the food, the GMO. Everything is fake. So you better back up with your lust for the fake and deal with the real. And on that note, I just want to say I love you all. Salute to my brothers, much love to my sisters. Go to landscurve.com and register. That way you'll catch everything, because we have content there that is even more scathing to the cool mind than ever before. Landscurve.com. You see it right there on the screen. Just go there and register, sign up. We're going to have forums and discussions of things now, because we're in a time of cancel culture. We're in a time of censorship. And I want to tell you, YouTube has gotten more stringent. So for the shows that we have on YouTube, we're going to have to stop the cussing, because the way they did it, they stopped me from uploading the video. They didn't give me a knock on my channel, but they stopped me because they said the rating of my own videos was off. So we have to go through it ourselves to make sure nothing's on there. They're not allowing certain things to go through. They're not allowing us to talk amongst each other, but we shouldn't have to have a damn YouTube owned by somebody else to allow us to talk to each other. News used to spread even more in the Black community than it ever did before a social media smartphone. The phone couldn't even leave the house. You know that big black telephone that was in the living room with that big thick cord that when it rang 3 o'clock in the morning, you said, oh my God, it's ringing 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh God, I hope nobody died, a car accident, whatever. You got scared. Unless was somebody out there waiting to, call you up to come pick them up. And you were still scared. Now we're walking around with this thing that controls our minds. And we can't talk to each other, even with all this technology that we have. And even when we do through a text message or an email, it's being monitored. You thought I was crazy years ago. There are many people who used to be on the Blog Talk radio shows when I started out doing this stuff, and they thought I was crazy. And I'm looking at them in the world that we're in right now. Well, how do you like it now? I don't like it, but I'm saying, you think the enemy is going to give you their best? You walking around feeling, I got the iPhone 13 Pro. I got the iPhone 14. That's the next one coming out. That's supposed to be something completely new. But they had that technology years ago. They had that technology when Martin Luther King and Malcolm X were walking around, and they give you the hand-me-down, and you pumping out your chest and paying out all this money for it. And it's a big muzzle on how we can talk. You got the biggest TV in your living room. You got the highest level of internet connection. You got the latest phone. You got GPS in your car. Hell, there's going to be something later on that reaches up out the steering wheel and picks your book and flings it out the window for you. You ain't got to do nothing. They're going to have toilets that wipe your backside. You put your hands up and boom, there it is. And we just as stupid and we don't talk to each other. Back in the day, we didn't have to be up in each other's business in our communities. What happened to the scenario of seeing one man over the chain link fence, the little short chain link fence, leaning over and they're talking for an hour and a half, and news gets around, not gossip, but crucial stuff. We don't even know who lives upstairs, if we're in an apartment building, downstairs, next door. We don't even look. Now we can't even look all the way and smile because we got a mask on. There's going to be something worse coming. We're going to have to cover your whole face. We can't be human anymore. There's an entity out there that doesn't like us to be human and to be connected to the natural. They want us in the unnatural and they want to kill us off. They're jealous. They're not of this world. I'll say it like that. Yeah. Call me crazy now. 10 years from now, you'll be like, yo, how did he know that? How? I go out in the sun and get my downloads. I don't need no newspaper. I don't need no nothing. I'm not going to know specific things, but it'll be in my spirit to know what to avoid. If I keep on going, I'll be here for another 3 hours. And I wish I could do that, but I really can't. Anyway, I just want to say to you all, we have more content coming today. I just had to wake up. I woke up late, but I had to wake up and kind of get this off my chest. When you have that person that you think is so sexy and so beautiful, they could be part of the attack on you in this war on us. Much love to you all, my family. Take care.
I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I'm trying to do more for the soul, way less for the bread. Oh yes sir. I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I see the things that they do way less than they say. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Can't be a real, might get you canceled. The whole system need to dismantle. Coppers treated like the utmost wanted. Trying to rule the block, but don't know what goes on me. News got a story with a new take on me. Carrying out the window with the screw face on me. But I know that God love me when my burn. 95 degrees and I can't get sunburned. Wonder when your government will make me legal. Burn the whole city if I can't be equal. Get off my please, Brad, I earned that. 400 years, how you still ain't learned? I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I'm trying to do more for the soul, way less for the bread. Oh yes sir. I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I see the things that they do way less than they say. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Shout out to the trying to gentrify the genre. Tell them free my middle finger to your honor. In the days coming down the seconds on the timer. Goofy still trying to purchase that designer. About to buy, learn to grow my own food. Cause I don't like the look they give me in the Whole Foods. moves. And when you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. But it ain't on me now, I'm living cause my heavy. But ain't sweet, think we thin. My whole attitude on MC Ren. It's my neighborhood now, Bob, I bought that. 400 years, how you still ain't caught that? I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I'm trying to do more for the soul, way less for the bread. Yes, sir. I take pack to the lung, kill the stress to the head. I see the things that they do way less than they said. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real, baby, look out. Cause it's a war on the real, baby, look outside. A war on the real.
Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition? Stripped of our name, our language, our culture, our God, and our religion. Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten by the preacher. He has told us of a heaven way up in the sky that we can't enjoy now, but rather after we die. But all of the years that we're living, for us is nothing but hell, pain, torture, and misgiving. Yet the Bible speaks of a heaven filled with material luxury, which the white man and the preacher has right here, so we see. So, my friend, take it for what it's worth. Your heaven and your hell is right here on this earth. So let's check back into history, which rewards all research and tells us plainly that before the white man gained entry to the East, he was living in the caves of Europe, a ravenous beast, eating juniper roots and eating flesh raw, till God sent Moses to civilize him and teach him the law. Then, following Marco Polo, an explorer, he gained entry into Asia and Africa. From China, he took silk and gunpowder. From India, he took jute, manganese, and rubber. He raped Africa of her diamonds and her gold. From the Mideast, he took barrels of oil untold, raping, robbing, and murdering everything in his path. The whole black world has tasted of the white man's wrath. So, my friend, it's not hard to tell. A white man's heaven is a black man's hell. Before we came to America, we were living in the East. By the Nile River, we were living in luxury, enjoying freedom, justice, and equality. We wore silken robes, slippers of gold. We were the wealthiest and the wisest people untold. Now we are the poorest of the poor. Nobody wants us at their door. So, my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven, black man hell. When the white man came to America, he told the Indian, I am your white brother. He said, red man, I'll treat you the best. Yet and still he pushed the Indian further west with his white woman and fire water. Tricks and lies, he stole America. The original owner of this nation is cooped up on a reservation. So my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven, black man hell. He needed someone to work the land. His back was too weak. He needed you, black man, so he commissioned Sir John Hawkins to commit the worst, most grievous sin, to take a man who's born to be free and bring him down to slavery, to sell a man as merchandise. On his body put a price. Oh, my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven is a black man hell.